After many years of love, I finally gave birth to a daughter with the man I cherished. However, when our daughter fell critically ill, he betrayed me with his secretary. He rushed to our daughter's funeral, and with swollen eyes from crying, I said to him, "Jay, I regret it." Then, when I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in high school. Standing before the young and passionate Jay, he looked at me with reddened eyes and asked, "Vivian, are you avoiding me?" Chapter 1. We couldn't save her. Please accept our condolences. The doctor's words sliced through me like a sharp blade, and the pain radiated from my chest. I leaned against the wall, slowly approaching the small body covered with a white sheet. Before her surgery, she had gently touched my face, reassuring me. "Mom, don't be sad. Lily doesn't hurt at all. Lily is very strong." I knelt by her bed, holding her cold hand, but no sound escaped my lips. Memories of my daughter's vibrant life flooded my mind. Such a lively, precious soul had just disappeared. I bore the unbearable pain as I brought my daughter's ashes home. During that time, I called Jay countless times, but each call ended in silence. What began as worry turned to anxiety, and eventually, I felt numbed by the sight of his photo in bed with another woman. Jay had cheated. While our daughter lay in agony on the operating table, he was in a hotel room with his young secretary. In a single night, I lost the two people I loved most in the world. At my daughter Lily's funeral, relatives and friends wept in sorrow. Everyone knew how obedient and sweet Lily was. Even when she was in pain at the hospital, she never wanted to burden me. Her only wish was to see her mom and dad before the surgery. In desperation, I called Jay, who was avoiding me. He impatiently hung up and eventually turned off his phone. My daughter didn't want me to suffer. She had comforted me with her gentle touch. "It's okay, Mom. With you here, Lily isn't afraid of anything." At the funeral, I held a photograph of Lily, my heart numb with grief. Suddenly, Jay appeared, frowning as he navigated through the crowd. His gaze fell on my tear-stained face. "Vivian, have you had enough?" He didn't ask why my eyes were swollen, he simply questioned if I was done. I clutched Lily's photo tighter, looking up at the man I had loved for so many years. "Jay, I regret everything." My eyes were so swollen I could barely see his face. He seemed momentarily flustered, but his response was cold. "Huh, are you using this again? Trying to pressure me with divorce, right?" I thought my heart had turned to stone, but his words pierced me anew, causing my fingers to tremble and drop the photo. The black and white picture fell between us. He bent down to pick it up. "Vivian, are you using Lily to manipulate me? Do you even deserve to be a mother?" His tone dripped with anger and disgust. I stood up, trying to snatch the photo from him, but he pushed me away. I fell backward, hitting my head on the corner of a table. In the final moment before losing consciousness, I thought I saw him reaching out to me. This time, I chose to turn away. Chapter 2. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in high school, at the beginning of my relationship with Jay. My desk mate, Lisa, nudged me and pointed toward the door. "Look, Jay is here to bring you brown sugar water." Following her gaze, I saw a young Jay in his school uniform, holding something. At that moment, his heart was entirely mine. I turned my head, suppressing the ache in my heart, unwilling to engage with him. But young Jay was oblivious. He thought I was unwell because of my period. He stuffed a black plastic bag into my desk and handed me a thermos cup, unscrewing the lid. "Brown sugar water. It's good for you during your period." His expectant gaze made me feel irritated. I shoved his hand away. The brown sugar water spilled everywhere, soaking his pants. Gasps erupted around us as my classmates stared. Jay quickly grabbed tissues to clean my desk, then turned to wipe his pants. Lisa cautiously tugged at my sleeve. "Vivian, what's wrong? Did Jay upset you?" Jay looked at me, concerned. "Vivian, did I do something to make you unhappy? It's my fault for bothering you during your period. I deserve to be punished." He held my hand, ready to hit himself. Thinking of the photo of him with the secretary years later, I recoiled in disgust. Jay stood frozen, shocked by my disdainful look. "Don't touch me, you're filthy." The classroom fell silent, all eyes on us. Jay eventually left a piece of white rabbit candy on my desk before walking away. Lisa looked incredulous, pulling at my arm. "Vivian, what's going on? Did you and Jay fight?" My heart was filled with nothing but contempt and disgust. I carelessly swept the candy to the floor. "Don't mention him in front of me again." Lisa opened her mouth but ultimately said nothing. As class continued, I noticed the black plastic bag Jay had left in my desk. It contained my usual sanitary products, thoughtfully including both day and night use. But all I felt was revulsion. After class, I tossed the black plastic bag and the thermos into the trash. I caught a glimpse of a figure stiffening at the corner, but when I looked again, there was no one there. Chapter 3. Finally, the school day ended and most classmates had already left. Exhausted from my period, I lay my head on my desk, trying to ease the pain. Someone stopped at my desk, and I looked up to see a bewildered Jay. His face resembled the one that scolded me at the funeral, making me frown in disgust. "Go away!" Jay's fingertips trembled, standing rooted in place. When I looked up again to drive him away, I saw his eyes were red. The word "go" caught in my throat. Ignoring my protests, Jay crouched in front of me. "I'll carry you home. It's going to rain soon." The sky outside was growing darker, ominously foreboding. I stared at his thin back, my eyes stinging. I lashed out again. "Jay, can't you understand? I told you to go away." I noticed his fists clench until they turned white, veins bulging in his arms. "Why?" His voice trembled. "Because I think you're filthy. I hate you. You disgust me." After hearing my words, Jay slowly stood, swaying slightly, his eyes filled with sorrow. Perhaps young Jay couldn't comprehend why the girl he loved suddenly hurled such hurtful words at him. Boom! A thunderclap rumbled, and torrential rain poured down. After Jay walked away, I slowly regained my senses. Before leaving, he said softly, "I'm sorry." I felt momentarily disoriented. In my previous life, I never had the heart to say such things to Jay. Thinking back, I scoffed. In my previous life, I never imagined Jay would cheat. The flashing lightning and heavy rain obstructed my path home. The sky had completely darkened. I recalled the moments with my daughter. On similar rainy days, she would snuggle in my arms, sweetly calling me Mom. Those beautiful memories felt so distant, as if from another era, leaving me only to reminisce. Just then, a tissue appeared before me, and I realized I had been crying without realizing it. Jay held the tissue, his eyes tinged with sadness. Looking at his familiar yet youthful face, the pain of losing my daughter surged again. I steadied my voice. "Let's break up. Stop clinging to me." With that, I plunged into the rain. The downpour was heavy and cold, yet I felt nothing, walking through it like a lifeless body. Suddenly, I spotted a small figure ahead in the rain. She stood there, gazing at me, as if saying, "Mom, Lily is here." The rain blurred my vision, but I ran forward desperately, muttering, "Lily! Lily, Mom is coming. Lily, wait for Mom." In the torrential rain, I could see nothing but my daughter waiting for me. I kept running, the sound of the rain drowning everything else. I didn't notice the oncoming car until it was too late. I was pushed aside, flying through the air. The screeching sound of brakes cut through the rain, sharp and painful. I crawled toward Jay, who lay in the rain. Blood spread beneath him. He struggled in pain, reaching out to me. "Vivian, please don't break up with me." Chapter 4. Outside the operating room, I shivered, wrapping my arms tightly around myself as I sat on the corridor chair. An elderly woman hurried in, her silver hair glistening with droplets, her face streaked with wetness. She paced anxiously before the operating room, her hunched back betraying her worry, muttering, "Please, let Jay be okay. Buddha, please protect him." I recognized her. She was Jay's grandmother, his only family in the world. In my previous life, Jay and I had applied to the same university. He had excitedly brought me home to meet his grandmother, who took an immediate liking to me, bestowing upon me a cherished family heirloom bracelet. When she passed away, she had sent Jay away and, on her deathbed, grasped my hand tightly, asking me to care for him. I truly loved him then. Despite knowing the risks to my health, I chose to have a daughter for him. He once told me that there were too few people who loved him in this world, and after his grandmother's passing, it would only be me. So, I had a daughter, believing that one more person loving him would bring him a little more happiness, but reality plunged a cruel dagger into my heart, the pain seeping through my body, as the image of him in bed with another woman turned our past love into a bitter joke. Bitterness flooded my mouth. I couldn't tell if it was from the cold or the heartache. Tears streamed down my face, but I felt numb. It wasn't until Jay's grandmother draped a clean coat over my shoulders that I felt anything at all. "Kid, don't catch a cold." Her kind face brought back memories of the pure, beautiful moments I had shared with Jay. I returned the coat and turned to leave when, at last, the operating room door swung open, and Jay was out of danger. I stood outside his hospital room for what felt like an eternity, until my body stiffened, my head grew dizzy, and the world spun around me. I had a severe fever, 39.7 degrees Celsius. The combination of my period, a torrential downpour, and hours spent waiting outside the operating room in soaked clothes left me vulnerable to illness. When I woke up, Jay was in the same hospital room, his gaze fixed on me, as if I were the only thing in his world. His lips were pale, but his eyes held a desperate intensity. "Jay!" I rasped, my throat feeling raw as if I had swallowed blades. The moment he heard me say his name, a flicker of light ignited in his eyes. "Let's not contact each other anymore. Let's pretend we're strangers." As the words left my mouth, a violent cough erupted, tears spilling from my eyes and blurring Jay's figure. The coughing hurt my throat and made my heart ache. Jay slowly closed his eyes, his hands gripping the sheets so tightly that his knuckles turned white, the veins in his neck bulging. He looked as though he were in agony, more than from a car crash or multiple fractures. I buried my face in the blanket, unwilling to let him see the tears that had begun to fall. "Vivian!" I faintly heard him call my name. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard him plead. "Vivian, don't leave me." My dreams were a chaotic blur. I saw a younger Jay, blushing as he shyly bought me sanitary pads. I saw him crying at our wedding, overwhelmed with emotion. I saw his joy when our daughter was born. I also saw him impatiently scolding me for being unreasonable. Finally, I saw our daughter crying out for us in the operating room. With every step I took toward her, the pain in my heart deepened, radiating through me until my entire hand trembled with numbness. As I reached out to hold her, she waved goodbye. "Goodbye, Mom?" "No! Don't! Lily!" I jolted awake, drenched in sweat, my pillow soaked with tears. I gasped for breath, feeling someone gently patting my back. Jay's grandmother looked at me with concern. "Child, are you all right? Did you have a nightmare? Remember, dreams aren't real, so don't be afraid." I instinctively protested. "No, it's not a dream." She paused before handing me a bowl of soup. "You've been asleep for a while, you must be hungry. Try the soup I made. My grandson loves it." Jay sat quietly, his eyes boring into me with an intensity that felt almost scorching. I wanted to refuse, but the aroma of the soup was too enticing, and my stomach growled in response. The warm, delicious soup brought a bit of comfort back to my body, the familiar taste swirling in my mouth, making my eyes prickle with tears. This flavor was all too familiar. In my previous life, when Jay and I had just married, I was often unwell, and he would go to the market every few days to buy a chicken for soup. He would proudly say, "Vivian, this recipe is from my grandmother. You're going to love it." And I did love it, or rather, I loved the affection he poured into making it. But after our daughter was born and Jay grew busier, I hadn't tasted such delicious soup again. Oh dear, is the soup too hot? Why are you crying again? Jay's grandmother wiped away my tears with tenderness. I forced a smile and shook my head. No, the soup is wonderful. Thank you, Grandma. Meanwhile, Jay's gaze remained fixed on me from his bed. Chapter 5. Late at night, I curled up under the blankets. Every time I closed my eyes, the image of Lily's frail body beneath the white sheet and that photo invaded my mind. I sat up, my temples throbbing and my eyes swollen. Vivian, did you have another nightmare? Jay struggled to sit up, meeting my gaze. Yes. I replied softly, then turned my back to him, burying my head under the blanket. Jay fell silent for a long moment before finally speaking up. Vivian, are you avoiding me? Did I do something wrong? Can you forgive me, Vivian? His voice was heavy with sadness. Perhaps he didn't fully grasp what he had done wrong, he just sensed that my unhappiness was tied to him. I lifted the blanket, allowing fresh air to hit my face. Jay, let's break up. I don't like you anymore. His panic was palpable. He tried to come closer but inadvertently tugged at his wounds, gasping in pain. Still, he trembled as he replied. I like you. I've always liked you. I scoffed, his current pain and sorrow reminding me too much of his past impatience. Huh, will you really always like me? Yes, I swear. Vivian, I swear I'll always like you. I laughed, a bitter sound echoing through the silence of the night. What if I told you that in the future, you would not only despise me but also cheat on me, and our daughter would die on the operating table? Jay immediately refuted my words. That's impossible. Vivian, I would never despise you, nor would I ever cheat on you. His eyes were fierce, his tone unyielding. If I hadn't lived through those experiences, I might have believed him. Jay gritted his teeth and struggled to stand, each step a painful reminder of his injuries. Cold sweat beaded on his forehead. Vivian, believe me. I would never betray you. He finally grasped my hand tightly, his eyes filled with desperation. What if I told you that in the future, you would not only despise and cheat on me but also let our daughter die? I slowly pulled my hand away and turned my back to him. He stood by my bed for what felt like an eternity before I heard him shuffle back to his own bed. We didn't exchange another word until I was discharged. Once back at school, I opened my diary and saw my ideal university written on one page: to university. Next to it was a university, the place Jay and I had once dreamed of attending together. I tore the page out, crumpled it into a ball, and tossed it into the trash. Lisa stared at me in disbelief. Vivian, what's going on? You used to look at that page before every class, and now you've just torn it up. I wrote "to university" solemnly in my diary. This time, I would live for myself. With Jay absent from my life, my nightmares decreased, though I still occasionally dreamt of Lily. She kept her distance, always watching me from afar. A month passed in peaceful routine, and I felt fulfilled, dedicating myself to my goals. The memories of my past life began to fade, and Lily rarely appeared in my dreams. Then Lisa hesitated beside me, clearly wrestling with something. What's wrong, Lisa? She sighed heavily. Vivian, Jay hasn't been to class for 3 days. The teacher can't reach him, and I heard his grandmother was taken to the hospital in tears. I snapped my pencil in frustration, leaving a noticeable hole in my notebook. I should have felt relieved, thinking that perhaps Jay was finally facing the consequences of his actions. But my heart ached, because this was the young Jay, the most genuine Jay. After school, I passed a park and a white cat rubbed against my leg. Jay and I used to bring bread and milk to it every day after school. It was proud, only letting me pet it. Every time Jay tried, it would hiss, then turn back to me, purring. Jay once confidently said, "It's definitely a boy cat, definitely." I laughed at his seriousness. Bringing my thoughts back, I searched my bag but found no food. I apologized, petting its head. Sorry, I didn't bring anything today. A small piece of bread was handed to me. I looked up to see a tired, disheveled Jay. My heart tightened. Where were you? Jay's eyes were dark, bloodshot. Vivian, here. A wooden box. Was this why he disappeared for 3 days? Jay took my hand, putting a wooden bracelet on my wrist. With this on, you won't have nightmares anymore. For some reason, the wooden bracelet felt incredibly heavy on my wrist. Jay held my hand, his eyes pleading. Vivian, please stop having nightmares and leaving me, okay? 17-year-old Jay's heart and soul were entirely mine. He was begging me not to reject the young him because of the future him. Bitterness filled my mouth. It wasn't a dream, Jay. It wasn't a dream. The image of Lily in agony but trying to be strong on the operating table kept replaying in my mind. Jay's impatience and disdain felt as fresh as yesterday. I forced a bitter smile, pulling my hand back. Don't come looking for me anymore. It's impossible between us. I took off the wooden bracelet and placed it back in his hand. Jay grabbed my arm as I tried to leave, his eyes misty. Vivian, we promised to go to a university together. Does that still count? I shook my head. The light in Jay's eyes finally went out. Chapter 6. Mr. J, your wife's health indicators are all normal. She should wake up soon, but it seems she doesn't want to. Jay responded with a weary. Okay. He sat by Vivian's hospital bed, covering his face with his hands. How could he have known that one push in anger would lead Vivian to hit her head and become comatose, stuck in this half-alive state? He couldn't have foreseen that their sweet and obedient daughter, Lily, would leave them forever. Jay recalled the days when Vivian had frantically called him. He had impatiently hung up, thinking if only he had answered, maybe he could have seen his daughter one last time. The thought made him want to punish himself. Vivian lay quietly with her eyes closed, as if just sleeping, ready to wake up and sweetly call his name. Then, his secretary called. Jay, you haven't come to see me in ages. Jay frowned, his voice cold. Didn't I tell you not to disturb my family again? The secretary giggled. Jay, what's left of your family? One dead, one half dead. Why not come to me instead? Jay's face darkened. Do you want to die? The secretary laughed. Jay, you weren't saying that in bed. You said my waist was soft, you couldn't get enough, that I was 1,000 times better than that old hag at home. Oh, and you called your daughter a financial burden. Jay clamped his hand over the phone, glancing at the comatose Vivian, afraid she might hear. He retreated to the stairwell, unable to contain his rage. If you show up in my life again, I promise you'll regret it. The secretary remained unfazed. Jay, you're still so impulsive. With Vivian not waking up, who will comfort you? Remember your wedding anniversary? You couldn't stand her nagging and came to me in the middle of the night. Jay's fists clenched, veins bulging on his forehead. Shut up. It was as if his dirty deeds were laid bare, making him feel both humiliated and furious. All right, I'll shut up. But I'm pregnant, Jay. You're going to have a son. I've had it checked. It's definitely a boy, not like your financial burden. It was like a blow to Jay. Another piece of evidence of his betrayal. He felt certain that Vivian would never forgive him. His heart felt like it was being torn apart, pain spreading through his body. It was as if a string was cutting through his nerves, slicing him apart. Jay crouched in the stairwell, the phone dropping to the floor as the secretary's words continued. He only felt a pounding headache, punching the wall repeatedly. Blood splattered on the white wall as Jay finally leaned his head against it, sobbing uncontrollably. That night, he surprisingly had a good sleep. He dreamed of his high school self, full of love for Vivian, wanting to do everything for her. Young Vivian, with her bright eyes and smile, laughing with him as they walked home together in the sunset. Everything was so beautiful. But then young Jay turned cold, walking towards his 30-year-old self. Young Jay punched him in the face. Towering over him, young Jay's eyes were filled with disdain. "How could you betray her, you bastard?" Punch after punch landed on him, but his body didn't hurt, his heart did, making it hard to breathe. "You don't deserve her, you bastard. You don't deserve to marry her. You've lost her forever." Young Jay screamed, collapsing to the ground, covering his face and sobbing. Young Vivian looked back at them, then walked away without a second glance. He reached out, trying to stop her. "Vivian, no, don't leave me." Young Jay got up, blocking his view. "Let her go. Don't bother her anymore." 30-year-old Jay's throat tightened and he finally sat on the street, crying uncontrollably. Waking up, Jay found his eyes swollen from crying, his pillow wet with tears. He slapped his face, relieved it was just a dream. He grabbed clothes from the closet, thinking only of getting to Vivian, to tell her he loved her most. Leaving, he was so nervous he fumbled with the elevator buttons. Nervous like his first date with Vivian, stepping on his own feet. He took deep breaths, trying to calm down. At a red light, he adjusted his hair, like a shy boy meeting his crush. But the hospital called. Vivian had just passed away. Jay hung up, stunned, fear replacing his anxiety. He pulled his hair, repeatedly asking himself, "Is Vivian dead? Did Vivian leave him? Will Vivian never forgive him?" Cars honked behind him, the noise piercing. A driver knocked on his window impatiently. Jay opened the door, collapsing to the ground, sobbing. At 30, he cried on the busy street. Chapter 7. Extra, Young Jay. Before the college entrance exams, Jay had a dream. He dreamed that he married Vivian, the girl he loved, and they had a sweet, obedient daughter. But before he could celebrate, he saw his 30-year-old self, not only despising Vivian but cheating with his secretary, ignoring their sick daughter, and even insulting Vivian as unworthy of being a mother. Waking up, Jay felt panicked. He finally understood why Vivian's attitude had changed, why she found him disgusting. He had done so many terrible things to her. For the first time, he loathed and hated his future self. On exam day, he saw Vivian happily leave the exam hall, jumping into her family's arms. She smiled brightly, finally achieving her dream, ready to live her desired life. Because of the dream, Jay's exam results were terrible, making his grandmother worry and fall ill. At the hospital, he ran into Vivian. He anxiously asked, "Are you sick?" He expected her to tell him to go away or ignore him. But she just smiled faintly. "Nothing serious, just checking my teeth." Her calm, distant smile made Jay feel worse. It meant she no longer had a place for him in her heart. As she turned to leave, Jay called out, "Vivian." "Yes? I'm sorry." He had hesitated for so long, finally apologizing for his future self. Vivian paused, then smiled lightly and walked away. Ahead was her new life.